Hey everybody, Austin Hill Shaw here, founder of Creativity Matters and author of The Shoreline of Wonder on Being Creative. Today we're going to continue with our series on how to build cultures of innovation. And the difference between creativity and innovation in my mind is that creativity is more localized within the individual. It's a defining trait of being human, and of course it's a basic need of being human as that defining trait. And so all of us are creative, and there's a limit to what we can do alone, right? And really none of us are ever doing anything alone. Even those that are working in isolation are still working with the world around them, with the creations of people before them, and yet at the same time, in order for us to bring forth more complex creations in the world, to solve bigger problems, it's important that we start to build cultures of innovation. And a culture, again, is a group of individuals who all their creativity is being activated in order so that together they can start to address more complex problems, right? And they can come up with new and innovative products, services, and ways of being. So this is good for organizations. This is good also for solopreneurs and those that are working on their own in terms of the networks of people that they interact with. Because again, none of us do it alone. Do it alone. And so the idea here is that in the second part, before we were talking about the importance of appreciating people, and appreciation is just extending that goodwill towards others, letting them know that I value that you're just here. It doesn't matter what you do, I just value that you are here in the world with us. And we can practice this within our organization, we can practice with our friends, with our family, and out there in the world. I think the world could benefit always from this sense of goodwill that's extended out towards us. And really, that goodwill allows us to feel more connected. Whenever there's that sense of people that are enjoying us or just appreciating us, it allows us to feel more connected. And that sense of connectedness leads to the experience of insight, those aha moments, which are the spark that starts the whole thing in motion. Today, though, we're going to talk about this other place, which is basically affecting the world, the idea of making a difference. Again, my definition of creativity is connecting with the world and affecting it in a meaningful way. And so today we're talking about the affecting part, the actions that we're taking in the world, the efforts that we're putting forth in order to bring things into the world. And in this sphere, what I want to talk about is the importance of acknowledgement. And acknowledgement, like appreciation is to the passive aspect of it being a human, acknowledgement is the willingness to appreciate somebody's activity, what they're doing, their willingness to try, their willingness to put themselves out there. And you can acknowledge a person for doing well, and you can acknowledge a person for trying but not getting to where they wanted to go. That is as important as even probably more important than acknowledging that they've done a good job. Why is that so? Well, creativity, one conventional definition of creativity and innovation is the creation of new and useful products and services, right? If we are only doing things that have been done before, if we're playing it safe, we're never going to get to that level of innovation that so many organizations and people desire. Nor are we going to be able to solve and work with the level of complex problems that we have out there in the world right now. I mean, there's a lot of real big challenges out there, including climatic change, including food supplies, including clean water, and so many things that we need creative and innovation solutions for. So if a person is willing to say, hey, I'm going to go try to tackle this thing that's never been done before, failure is to be expected, at least as an iterative process. For example, as a designer, I never get it right. We never get it right on the first time. We're constantly innovating and trying things out, but we have this will to put things out. And my fellow designers and I, we acknowledge one another for what we've tried, and we also give constructive criticism in order so that we can make it better. So acknowledgement is that willing to appreciate the fact that we've tried, even if it doesn't go right, okay? Even if it doesn't go perfectly our way. And so when I was writing the Shoreline of Wonder, I showed a kind of what I'd been working on after 4 or 5 years to a person named Ron Takaki, who was a professor from Berkeley. He'd written 20 books or so. He was an amazing, amazing pioneer, a Japanese American born in Hawaii, who had basically pioneered the ethnic studies department in UCLA and then at UC Berkeley. And he was a really advocate for minorities, for having a voice. And again, he'd written some 20 books. And I had a connection with him and basically asked him, if he would look at some of the things that I'd written. And he said, he'd said, I'd love to do that. And so he checked it out. And a couple of weeks later, he got back to me and he said, who is your audience here? Who are you writing this for? And I said, well, creativity has this universal appeal. So I wanted to have, a connection with really everybody who comes across. And he kind of nodded his head and thought about it for a moment. And then in a very grandfatherly way, he said, there's a few people out here, a few academics that are really going to like what you're writing here, but most people are going to be lost in what you're saying right now. It's very esoteric. It's very theoretical. You need stories in there. You need stories. And so what Ron was doing in that moment was he was acknowledging that I had tried, that I'd been writing for years and that I was wanted to solve this conundrum about what is creativity and put it into a book that people wanted to read. And yet, at that moment in time, I had written only things that were going to appeal to a few people that were willing to trudge through the prose that I'd written at that point, which is devoid of stories for the most part. It didn't have a really cohesive narrative. It was just filled with sort of scattered ideas. But based on his willing to acknowledge what I'd done thus far and also willing to give me the truth, I was able to sort of shapeshift and pivot and start to write something that became something that people who have read it have really enjoyed, that they've gotten a lot out of it and I've gotten a lot of feedback. But of course, if I didn't get the acknowledgement, that encouragement to move forward, nor did I get the constructive feedback so that I could make it better, hey, it wouldn't be the work that it is today. It might not have ever even gotten done. What if you had said, gosh, this is terrible. I can't even believe you had written it. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? And I'm sure all of us haven't had those experiences before where, again, there's something very meaningful for us that we've brought to somebody and people just shot it down, right? That is not a way of building cultures of innovation. That is not a way of helping a person's creativity to really come to the forefront, right? We really need to be cognizant and conscious how we go about promoting people around us, how we help them to further their own creative projects, okay? So again, acknowledgement is the second ingredient of building cultures of innovation, how to build cultures of innovation. So if you have any stories of people that have inspired you or even shot you down in your life, please put that down. Please let us know the effect that it had on you. Again, those people that it came across when you were working on something and they encouraged you in some way by acknowledging the work that you've done. Please share that in the comment section below. If you're not on my website right now, you can visit www.austinhillshaw.com. Lots of great free resources there. And please, if this post has affected you in a meaningful way, please, you can help acknowledge me and my work by sharing it with people that you know, your networks. This helps me get this out there because I really want to get this out there. I think that people who are feeling creative and cultures of innovation are what the world needs right now. We need people to activate their creativity. We need to have combinations of people working together to come up with innovative solutions to pressing problems. That is so important right now. So thank you for doing that in advance. Again, this is Austin Hill Shaw, founder of Creativity Matters, reminding you to connect deeply, to make a difference, and to inspire creativity in others. Thank you so much for joining me.